The alarm screamed through every corridor of Nexus Prime. Ambassador Kellar pressed his three-fingered hand against the viewport, watching the impossible sight before him. Something massive was tearing through quantum space, creating ripples that made every sensor on the station go mad with confusion. It cannot be. High Counselor Threen whispered from behind him. The tall, gray-skinned leader of the Galactic Council stood frozen, his usual confidence shattered. Nothing that large can travel through quantum jumps. The energy required would destroy any ship. Around them, representatives from 200 species gathered in the observation chamber. Some prayed to their gods. Others began sending emergency messages to their homeworlds. Kellar simply watched and waited. He had studied the old records, the ones everyone else dismissed as myths and legends. He knew what was coming. The quantum tear expanded, looking like someone had ripped a hole in space itself. Blue and purple lightning crackled around the edges. Every ship in the system moved away from it, scared of the enormous energy readings. Then slowly, impossibly, something began to emerge. The bow came first, dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Then more came through, section after section, going on until Kellar felt his heart skip in rhythm. The ship was massive beyond understanding. 15 kilometers of advanced engineering, covered in weapon ports and shield emitters that glowed with barely contained power. "What is that?" someone shouted from the crowd. "Scan it," Threen ordered. "Find out what species built that monster." The sensors worked for several moments. When the results came back, the room fell silent. Kellar closed his eyes. He had been right. The signature, a technician stammered. It matches the Sol system. The humans." Laughter erupted from several council members.
Humans? The primitive species from that backwater planet Earth?
The ones who barely had spaceflight 300 years ago? Impossible. "This must be a mistake," Threen said firmly. "The humans are under quarantine. They have no ships capable of leaving their system. Our scouts confirmed this." "Your scouts," Kellar said quietly, "have not been to Earth in 70 years. What do you think they have been doing in that time?" Threen ignored him. He pressed a button on his command console. "This is High Counselor Threen of the Galactic Council. Unknown vessel, you have entered Council space without permission. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any resistance will be met with immediate destruction." The Dreadnought did not respond. It simply hung in space, its massive form blocking out the stars behind it. Kellar could see smaller ships on the station beginning to position themselves around it. Defense platforms came online, their weapons charging with bright blue energy. "They are not responding," Threen said, his voice hard. "Fire a warning shot. Show them we are serious." "Counselor, perhaps we should," Kellar began. "Fire." 3 orbital defense platforms released their main cannons simultaneously. These were weapons designed to destroy capital ships with a single shot. The blue energy beams crossed the distance in seconds, slamming into the Dreadnought's hull with enough force to vaporize a city. The beams simply vanished. They hit something around the ship, some kind of field that Kellar could barely see, and dispersed into nothing. The Dreadnought did not even slow down. It continued its slow approach toward the station. "What kind of shields are those?" Someone gasped. "Fire again," Threen ordered. "Full power. All platforms." 20 defense platforms fired together. The combined energy could have destroyed a small moon. The result was the same. The beams hit the invisible field and disappeared like rain falling into an ocean. The humans had not even bothered to raise combat shields. This was just their normal defensive field. A communications channel opened. Everyone in the observation chamber heard it, broadcast on every frequency at once. A voice spoke, female, calm and cold as ice between stars. "This is Captain Elena Vasquez of the United Human Systems vessel Indomitable. For 300 years, humanity has been isolated. For 300 years, we have been called primitive. For 300 years, we have been listening to your transmissions, learning your languages, studying your technology." There was a pause. "And for 300 years, we have been preparing." The Dreadnought's weapon ports began to glow, not aggressively, not charging for attack, just a demonstration, a reminder. Hundreds of rail cannons, missile tubes, and energy weapons that made the station's defenses look like toys. "We know what you did," Captain Vasquez continued. "We know about the colony ship you destroyed. We know about the quarantine you placed on Earth. We know you called us dangerous, aggressive, not ready for the galaxy." Another pause. "You were wrong about many things. But you were right about one. We are dangerous. Kalar watched Threen's face turn from gray to pale white. The counselor was beginning to understand what he had done. What they had all done. They had left humanity alone, thinking them weak. Instead, they had given them time. Time to advance. Time to prepare. Time to become angry. We are not here to ask for permission to join your council, Vasquez said. We are here to demand justice. We are here to claim our place in this galaxy, and we are here to make sure that what happened to us never happens to anyone else. The Dreadnought stopped its advance, hanging in space like a dark monument to human determination. On its hull, letters big enough to be seen from the station spelled out its name. Indomitable. This is humanity, Vasquez finished. We have been listening. Now you will hear us. The negotiation room was built for intimidation. High ceilings made visitors feel small. The long table placed council members above everyone else. It had worked on countless species for thousands of years. But Captain Elena Vasquez walked in, wearing her dark blue uniform with perfect confidence, her steps echoing in the vast chamber. She was not alone. Behind her came Admiral Marcus Chen, an older man with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. 6 human Marines followed in powered armor, their faces hidden behind reflective visors. Kalar noticed that every council member leaned back slightly when the humans entered. Captain Vasquez, Threen began from his elevated seat. The council has agreed to hear your grievances. However, you must understand that your threatening approach has created a very difficult situation. Vasquez smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Our threatening approach? Interesting choice of words, counselor. She placed a data device on the table. A hologram appeared above it, showing an old human ship. It looked primitive compared to modern vessels, but Kalar could see the hope that had been built into every section. It was a colony ship, designed to carry families to a new world. 327 years ago, Vasquez said, the New Dawn left Earth. 5,000 colonists heading for a planet we called Hope's End. Men, women, children, scientists, farmers, teachers. They were going to build something beautiful. The hologram changed. It showed the colony ship meeting another vessel. Kalar recognized the design. It was a Korath scout ship, one of the Council's member species. They met your scouts 8 light years from Earth. The humans sent greetings in every language they knew. They transmitted mathematics, music, pictures of Earth. Vasquez's voice remained steady, but her hands had become fists. The Korath destroyed them. Every man, every woman, every child. They left no survivors to tell the story. That was an unfortunate accident, Threen said quickly. The Korath thought the humans were hostile. It was a misunderstanding. Was it? Admiral Chen spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet, but somehow filled the entire room. Or did the Korath see a weak species they could destroy without consequences? The Council placed Earth under quarantine for your own protection, Threen insisted. You were not ready for contact with the greater galaxy. You marked us as primitives, Vasquez said. You told everyone to avoid our system. You thought that would be the end of it. She smiled again, that cold smile. You forgot to check on us. Do you know what humans do when someone kills 5,000 of their people and tells them to stay quiet? The hologram changed again. Kalar watched images flash past, each one showing humanity's rapid advancement. Weapons that could crack planets, shields that could stop anything, quantum drives that made ships move like ghosts, and the Dreadnoughts. 4 of them now, each one a statement of human rage and brilliance combined. You left us alone for 3 centuries, Admiral Chen said. In that time, we took apart every piece of Korath technology that survived the attack on the New Dawn. We studied your transmissions. We learned everything about you. And we built. We built until we were ready. This is unacceptable, another council member said. She was from the Threen Collective, her skin a deep purple. You cannot simply arrive and demand recognition. There are protocols. There are rules. Rules? Vasquez laughed, and it was not a pleasant sound. You want to talk about rules? Where were your rules when the Korath killed our colonists? Where were your rules when you covered it up? We found the records, Counselor, the ones you thought you deleted. The Council knew the attack was unprovoked. You knew the humans posed no threat. And you did nothing. The room erupted. Council members shouted at each other in a dozen languages. Some defended the old decision. Others demanded investigations. Kalar noticed that the smaller species, the ones who had less power in the council, were nodding along with the humans. Threen raised his hand for silence. Even if we accept your version of events, Captain, what do you want? Revenge? War? We want justice, Vasquez said simply. We want the council to acknowledge what happened. We want a seat at the table so we can make sure it never happens to anyone else. And we want the freedom to protect our people wherever they are. There are human colonies. Threen looked shocked. Did you think we would stay on one planet after what happened? Chen said. We have 37 colonies throughout the frontier regions, small, hidden, protected. Your council never noticed because you never looked. An alarm interrupted the conversation. A young Vraxian technician ran into the chamber, forgetting all protocol. Counselor Kalar, we are receiving a distress signal from the frontier. The colony on New Havana is under attack. Vasquez's expression changed instantly. New Havana, that is one of ours. The technician brought up the signal. On the hologram, they could see 3 Korath raider ships attacking a small human settlement. Buildings were burning, people were running, the raiders were taking whatever they wanted. The Council Defense Fleet is 17 hours away, Threen said, his voice careful. I am sorry, Captain, but there is nothing we can do. Kellar saw the look that passed between Vasquez and Chen. He had studied human expressions in his research. This was not grief. This was not despair. This was barely controlled fury. You are right, Counselor, Vasquez said quietly. She stood and her Marines formed up behind her. There is nothing you can do. She looked directly at Threen. But we can. Admiral Chen activated his communications device. All ships, this is Chen. Plot jump coordinates for New Havana. Maximum speed. We have people who need us. Captain, Kalar called out as the humans walked toward the door. How long will it take you to reach them? Vasquez turned back, and for the first time Kalar saw her smile with real feeling. It was the smile of a predator about to hunt. Counselor Kalar, our quantum drives can jump distances your scientists think are impossible. We will be there in 42 minutes. She paused at the doorway. Watch carefully. Today you will see what happens when you threaten human families. Today you will learn why you should never have left us alone. The Korath raiders thought it would be easy. New Havana was just a small human colony. Barely 5,000 people. No defenses that their sensors could detect. Just farms and simple buildings. Easy prey for taking supplies and slaves. Captain Zroth watched from his command ship as his troops moved through the streets. The humans were running and hiding like the primitives they were. His 2 escort cruisers circled the planet, ready to destroy any ship that tried to escape. This would be a profitable raid. Then his sensors officer made a sound of confusion. Captain, I am detecting a quantum signature. Something is coming through jump space. Zroth barely looked up. Probably a cargo ship. Destroy it when it arrives. Sir, the signature is... It is very large. I have never seen readings like this. Now Zroth paid attention. He looked at his screens and felt his blood turn cold. The quantum tear forming near the planet was enormous. Whatever was coming through was bigger than all 3 of his ships combined. The Indomitable emerged from quantum space like a nightmare made real. 15 kilometers of human war machine, weapons already glowing with charge. It did not slow down. It did not send a warning. It simply opened fire. The first rail cannon shot traveled at nearly the speed of light. Zroth's escort cruiser had no time to dodge. The solid metal projectile, moving at impossible speed, hit the ship's center. The cruiser did not explode. It simply ceased to exist, torn apart by the kinetic energy and scattered into debris. Evasive action, Zroth screamed. Return fire. Kill that thing! His own ship and the remaining escort began firing every weapon they had. Plasma cannons, missiles, energy beams. Everything in their arsenal hit the human Dreadnought. The weapons vanished against its shields like thrown stones against a mountain. The Indomitable's second volley was different. These were not rail cannons. They were missiles, but unlike anything Zroth had seen before. They phased in and out of normal space, passing through his shields like they were not there. They appeared inside his escort cruiser and detonated. The second Korath ship broke apart from the inside. Explosions ripped through every deck. Atmosphere vented into space. In 10 seconds, the cruiser was a dead hulk tumbling through orbit. Impossible, Zroth whispered. How do they have phase missiles? That technology does not exist. His communications officer grabbed his arm. Captain, we must run. We cannot fight this, Zroth agreed. He ordered maximum speed away from the planet. His ship was fast, one of the quickest in the Korath fleet. Surely he could outrun that massive human vessel. The Indomitable did not chase him. Instead, it simply jumped. One moment it was behind him. The next moment it appeared directly in front of him, blocking his escape route. A quantum jump in the middle of a battle. Something every military academy said was impossible. Korath vessel, a human voice said over the communications channel. You attacked civilians. You attacked families. For that there is no escape. The Dreadnought's forward cannons fired. Zroth did not even have time to pray. On the planet's surface, the Korath ground troops heard the explosions in orbit. They looked up to see debris burning in the atmosphere. Their ships were gone. They were alone on a hostile world. Sergeant Maria Rodriguez smiled inside her helmet. She was falling toward the planet in a drop pod with 49 other Marines. Behind her, 200 more pods were following. The mission was simple. Save the colonists. Kill every raider who did not surrender. The pods hit the ground like meteors. Marines burst out in their powered armor, looking like walking tanks. Each suit made a human strong enough to lift vehicles and fast enough to dodge gunfire. Each one was armed with weapons that turned Korath soldiers into memory. The first Korath squad died before they understood what was happening. Rodriguez moved through them like a storm, her rifle firing perfectly aimed shots. Her armor took dozens of hits without slowing down. Around her, other Marines were doing the same. Contact right, someone called. Rodriguez turned to see 20 Korath soldiers trying to form a defensive line. She grabbed a plasma grenade from her belt and threw it with armor-enhanced strength. The grenade landed perfectly in the center of their formation. The resulting explosion solved the problem. Not all the Korath were fighters. Some dropped their weapons and raised their hands. These ones the Marines captured and secured. But those who kept fighting, who tried to hurt the colonists, who refused to surrender, the Marines showed them what human rage looked like. The colonists themselves joined the fight. They had been pretending to be helpless, but every human on the frontier knew how to shoot. They had been waiting for help, conserving their ammunition. Now they emerged from hiding with hunting rifles and improvised weapons. An old farmer named Jackson stood on his porch with a shotgun that had been in his family for 200 years. A Korath raider tried to use his barn for cover. Jackson shot him twice, reloaded, and shot him twice more. That's for burning my crops, he said calmly. The battle lasted 37 minutes. When it ended, not a single Korath raider had escaped. Those who surrendered were secured for trial. Those who fought to the end found out why humans have a saying, do not mess with Earth. Captain Vasquez stood in the town square of New Havana, watching medics help the wounded colonists. Admiral Chen stood beside her, receiving reports from various Marines. The town was damaged but intact. 18 colonists had died before the Indomitable arrived. Every single one would be avenged. Captain, a communications officer, called. We are receiving transmissions from all over the galaxy. The Council broadcast the entire battle. Everyone saw what we did. Vasquez nodded slowly. Good. Let them see. Let them understand. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council watched the recordings in stunned silence. The human Dreadnought had destroyed 3 Korath ships in 11 minutes. The Marines had eliminated a ground force that outnumbered them 10-1, and they had done it all without mercy. Kellar noticed something else. The smaller species in the Council were not looking afraid. They were looking hopeful. For the first time in centuries, someone had punished raiders and pirates. Someone had proven that strength did not have to serve corruption. The humans cannot be allowed to act like this, Threen said, but his voice was weak. They have attacked a council member species without authorization. They defended their people, Kellar replied. Something the council should have done. His console beeped. A new message appeared. Kellar opened it and felt his heart skip again. 3 more quantum signatures were approaching Nexus Prime. 3 more dreadnoughts. When they arrived, Admiral Chen sent a simple message to every ship and station in the system. This is Admiral Marcus Chen of the United Human Systems Fleet. We have 4 Dreadnoughts, with 8 more under construction. We have 37 colonies and growing. We have weapons you do not understand and tactics you cannot predict. He paused. The age of pushing humanity around is over. The age of ignoring crimes because they are convenient is over. We are here. We are strong. And we will protect not just ourselves but anyone who asks for help. He let that sink in before continuing. To the Council we say this. Work with us or work around us. But do not ever stand in our way again. The Korath Unity would not accept defeat. Their pride would not allow it. A single human dreadnought had destroyed 3 of their ships, and now the galaxy watched and waited to see what they would do. For a species that had built their reputation on strength and fear, backing down was not an option. War leader Krathic stood before the Unity Council, his 4 arms spread wide. The humans have insulted us. They have killed our warriors. If we do not respond, every weak species in the galaxy will think they can challenge us. How many ships do we send? One of the council members asked. All of them. Krathic replied. 200 warships. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers. We will crush them so completely that humans become a warning story for the next 1,000 years. What the Korath did not know was that the Threen Collective secretly supported them. The Threen feared humanity's rise and wanted them destroyed before they became too powerful. So the Threen provided intelligence about human colonies and promised to block any council intervention. Only Ambassador Kalar and the Vraxian Empire stayed neutral, but Kalar's warnings went unheard. You do not understand humans, he pleaded with the council. They do not fight like we do. They will surprise you. The Korath Armada gathered at their homeworld, a show of force that should have terrified anyone. 200 ships moving as one fleet toward the human frontier. Their plan was simple. Destroy every human colony they found until the humans surrendered or died. The humans knew they were coming. They always knew. Their sensor networks watched every major fleet movement in the galaxy. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, studying the tactical display. Beside him, Captain Vasquez was quiet, thinking. 4 dreadnoughts against 200 ships, an officer said nervously. Admiral, maybe we should retreat, regroup, wait for the other ships to finish construction. No, Chen said firmly. If we retreat now, they will think we are weak. They will keep coming. We end this here. The battle took place in the Korath frontier system of Drakthor. It was empty space, far from any colonies, which suited the humans perfectly. The 4 dreadnoughts waited, looking small against the massive Korath fleet approaching them. Krathic laughed when he saw the tactical display. 4 ships? The humans are fools. All vessels, spread out and surround them. We will attack from every direction at once. What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries. The human dreadnoughts did not run. They did not try to fight the entire fleet. Instead, they jumped. All 4 ships made quantum jumps in different directions, appearing scattered throughout the Korath formation. Suddenly, the Korath fleet was not surrounding the humans. The humans were inside their formation. Impossible, Krathic shouted. Ships cannot jump that accurately in combat. The Indomitable appeared next to a Korath carrier. At point-blank range, its rail cannons tore through the carrier's armor like paper. The carrier exploded, taking 3 nearby destroyers with it in the blast. The second dreadnought, the Defiant, jumped next to a cluster of cruisers. It launched every missile it had in a single salvo. Hundreds of phase missiles appeared inside Korath ships, detonating throughout their hulls. 6 cruisers died in seconds. The Korath tried to focus fire on individual dreadnoughts, but the humans kept jumping. They would appear, fire, and jump away before the Korath could properly target them. It was like fighting ghosts that could punch through steel. Form up, stay together, Krathic ordered. His fleet tried to regroup, pulling into a tighter formation. That was exactly what the humans wanted. When the Korath ships were clustered together, the humans stopped jumping. All 4 dreadnoughts appeared at 4 different points around the fleet and began firing continuously. Rail cannons, missiles, energy beams. Everything they had. The Korath had numbers. The humans had something better. They had better training, better technology, and absolutely no quit in their souls. They fought like every battle was their last, like every ship lost was a personal insult. One human destroyer, the Valiant, took critical damage from a Korath battleship. Instead of retreating, its captain did something insane. He aimed his dying ship directly at the battleship and pushed the engines to maximum. The crew evacuated in escape pods seconds before the destroyer hit. The collision destroyed both ships, but the explosion also damaged 3 nearby Korath vessels. The human crew drifted in their pods, watching their ship's sacrifice create an opportunity. Other human ships took advantage, destroying the damaged Korath vessels. That was when Krathix understood. The humans were not fighting to win by conventional rules. They were fighting to win at any cost. Every tactic, every sacrifice, everything was designed to kill as many enemies as possible. The Indomitable was in trouble. Its shields were failing after taking fire from 20 ships at once. Hull breaches vented atmosphere. Power fluctuated throughout the ship. Captain Vasquez stood on her bridge, feeling the ship shake around her. "All hands, abandon ship," she ordered calmly. "Get to the evacuation pods, that's an order." "Captain, you need to evacuate too," her first officer shouted. "Someone needs to steer," Vasquez replied. "Go, I will buy you time." She reduced the crew to just herself and 4 volunteers. Together, they kept the Indomitable fighting even as it died around them. Vasquez aimed the crippled Dreadnought toward the Korath command station where Krathix directed the battle. "If I am going down," she said quietly, "I am taking you with me." The Indomitable charged forward, weapons firing even as its armor melted under concentrated fire. Vasquez had seconds left before the ship exploded. She whispered a prayer for her crew, for her ship, for all the humans who had died today. Then Admiral Chen appeared. The Defiant jumped directly between the Indomitable and the Korath fleet, taking the hits meant for Vasquez. Behind Chen came reinforcements. 30 human cruisers that had been hiding just outside the system jumped in simultaneously. "Sorry we are late, Elena," Chen said over the communications channel. "Had to make sure the trap was set properly." The fresh human ships hit the Korath fleet from behind. The aliens were exhausted, damaged, and now surrounded. Krathix gave the order to retreat, but less than half his ships made it out. The rest were destroyed or captured. The Battle of Drakthor ended after 6 hours of continuous fighting. The humans lost 1 Dreadnought, 12 cruisers, and 40,000 personnel. The Korath lost 137 ships and any claim to military superiority. Back at Nexus Prime, the galaxy watched the battle recordings in shock. Small species began protesting in the streets of their homeworlds. They demanded to know why the Council had let the Korath attack humans without consequence. They asked why, if the humans could stand up to bullies, the Council could not. Within a week, information began to leak. Anonymous sources revealed that the Threen Collective had supported the Korath attack. They showed evidence of decades of Council corruption, of crimes ignored because the victims were weak. The smaller species, the ones who had suffered under Council protection that never came, staged a revolution. They refused to follow Council orders. They demanded new leadership. They called for Ambassador Kellar to take temporary control until reforms could be made. The Korath Unity, broken and humiliated, asked for peace. The Threen Collective tried to deny their involvement, but the evidence was overwhelming. High Counselor Threen resigned in disgrace. Captain Vasquez, rescued from the wreckage of the Indomitable, received a medal for valor. She accepted it silently, thinking of the 40,000 humans who would never go home. Victory felt less sweet when you counted the cost. But something worse was coming. Deep space monitoring stations detected unusual energy readings from the galactic core. Something ancient and terrible was waking up, drawn by the massive power signatures from the battle. The war with the Korath was over, but humanity's true test was just beginning. 6 months after the Battle of Drakthor, the galaxy was changing. The Galactic Council had been reformed under Ambassador Kalar's leadership. Humanity now held a permanent seat, along with the Vraxian Empire and representatives from the smaller species who had demanded change. The old system of 3 powers controlling everything was gone. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood on the bridge of humanity's newest flagship. After her promotion following Admiral Chen's retirement, she commanded not just one ship, but the entire United Human Systems fleet. 12 dreadnoughts now patrolled human space, with construction beginning on 12 more. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity's strength, but respect born from fear alone was not what humanity wanted. They began sharing their technology with species who asked for help. They trained alien crews in their tactics. When pirates attacked trade routes, human ships responded regardless of which species was attacked. Slowly, humanity was building something new, not an empire, but an alliance of mutual protection. Admiral, her communications officer called. "We are receiving an urgent transmission from the Deep Space Monitoring Station Outpost 7. Vasquez turned to listen. What she heard made her blood run cold. "This is Outpost 7. We are detecting massive quantum disturbances coming from the galactic core. The energy readings are off every scale. Something very large is coming. Multiple contacts. Hundreds of them. They are heading toward inhabited space. We are evacuating. God help us all." The transmission ended. Vasquez immediately called for an emergency council meeting. Within hours, representatives from every major species gathered at the rebuilt Nexus Prime. The mood was tense and afraid. Kalar brought up the sensor data on the central hologram. Everyone could see the readings, but most did not understand what they were looking at. Vasquez did. She had spent months studying ancient council records after the war. "It is the Void Swarm," she said quietly. "The machines that destroyed the ancient civilization that built the jump gate network thousands of years ago." The room erupted in panicked voices. The Void Swarm was supposed to be a myth, a story to scare children, but the sensor readings did not lie. Hundreds of machine ships, each one the size of a small moon, were moving toward the galactic rim where all the inhabited worlds existed. "How do we fight them?" someone asked. "The ancients could not," a Threen historian said. "They had technology beyond anything we possess." The swarm consumed everything. Entire civilizations vanished. The survivors sealed the swarm in the galactic core using the jump gates, then destroyed the gates to trap them there. "Then how are they free?" Vasquez demanded. The historian looked at her sadly. "The battle at Drakthor. The energy released when your ships and the Korath fleet fought was immense. It damaged the seal. You woke them up." Vasquez felt like she had been punched. Humanity had saved itself from the Korath only to doom the galaxy. She looked around the room and saw accusation in many eyes. But she also saw determination. "They had one chance to fix this. We fight," she said firmly. "Every species, every ship. We throw everything we have at them." "That is suicide," a Korath representative said. Even after their defeat, they still had a voice in the new council. "The swarm cannot be stopped." "Then we die trying," Vasquez replied. "But humans do not accept the impossible. We will find a way." The preparation took 3 weeks. Every military vessel in the galaxy gathered at the choke point system between the core and inhabited space. Human dreadnoughts formed the center line, their heavy armor and shields making them the strongest defensive position. Vraxian battleships covered the flanks. Korath ships, fighting alongside their former enemies, protected the rear. Smaller species provided support ships, supplies, and medical facilities. It was the largest fleet ever assembled, 5,000 ships from 200 species, all united against a common enemy. Admiral Vasquez commanded from the bridge of her flagship, the Indomitable II, named in honor of the ship that started everything. The Void Swarm arrived like a nightmare. The machine ships were massive geometric shapes, all angles and sharp edges. They did not communicate. They did not negotiate. They simply attacked, their weapons firing beams of pure energy that could slice through ships like they were made of paper. The first wave hit the fleet hard. 20 ships destroyed in the opening minutes. But the galaxy had learned from humanity. They did not panic. They did not run. They held the line and fought back. Human dreadnoughts tanked damage that would have destroyed any other ship. Vraxian carriers launched thousands of fighters that swarmed the swarm vessels like angry insects. Korath ships used their speed to hit and run, drawing fire away from damaged vessels. The smaller species showed courage that shocked everyone, throwing their tiny ships against impossible odds. But it was not enough. The swarm kept coming. For every machine ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. They adapted to every tactic, learned from every attack. After 6 hours of continuous battle, the fleet had lost 1,000 ships and the swarm had barely slowed down. Vasquez stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display show red icons spreading across the screen. They were losing. The galaxy was going to die, unless someone did something crazy. "Get me the engineering team," she ordered. "And connect me to Ambassador Kalar. I have an idea." The plan was insane. The jump gates the ancients built were still scattered throughout the galaxy, dormant but not destroyed. Human engineers working with Vraxian scientists and even Korath technicians who understood ancient systems believed they could overload one of the gates. The resulting quantum explosion would create a singularity, a black hole that would consume everything nearby, including the swarm's central hive mind, which coordinated all the machine ships from a massive vessel at the center of their formation. The problem was simple. Someone had to get close enough to the hive mind to activate the gate, and someone had to stay there to make sure it worked because the overload required constant adjustment. It was a suicide mission. "I will do it," Vasquez said calmly. "No," Kalar said over the communications channel. "You are the fleet commander. You are needed here." "That is why it has to be me," Vasquez replied. "Someone has to show them how humans fight. Someone has to prove that no sacrifice is too great when you are protecting your home." 3 human dreadnoughts and 2 Vraxian battleships volunteered to escort her. Together they pushed through the swarm, taking horrific damage. One by one, the escort ships fell away, dying to buy Vasquez time. The Indomitable II was the only ship that made it to the ancient gate near the hive mind. Vasquez's crew worked frantically, connecting the gate to the Dreadnought's power core and beginning the overload sequence. The hive mind realized what was happening and turned every weapon it had toward the human ship. The Indomitable II's shields failed. Armor melted. Entire sections of the ship were exposed to space. "Admiral, we have to evacuate," her first officer shouted. "Not yet," Vasquez replied, her hands steady on the controls. "The overload needs 3 more minutes. We hold." Those 3 minutes felt like hours. The ship fell apart around her. Most of the crew escaped in pods, but Vasquez stayed at her post. At the last second, Kalar's ship appeared. The Vraxian ambassador had followed her, unwilling to let the human admiral die alone. "Elena, get to the escape pod," Kalar shouted. "I will finish it." "Together," Vasquez said. She grabbed his arm and pulled him toward the pod. "We started this together. We survived together." They made it to the pod with seconds to spare. Behind them, the ancient gate overloaded. The quantum energy tore through space-time, creating a singularity that pulled in the hive mind and everything around it. The swarm ships, suddenly without coordination, began to malfunction. They stopped adapting, stopped learning, and the fleet destroyed them. The battle ended after 14 hours. The swarm was broken, scattered into the depths of space without leadership. The cost had been terrible. 2,000 ships destroyed, 500,000 personnel dead, 3 human dreadnoughts lost, including the legendary Indomitable II. But the galaxy survived. Vasquez floated in the escape pod with Kalar, watching the fleet's rescue ships searching for survivors. She was exhausted, wounded, and she had just lost another ship. But she had also saved uncountable billions of lives. "You humans," Kalar said softly. "You are terrifying. You fight like demons. You sacrifice like saints. You never give up." "We learned from you," Vasquez replied. "All of you. The Vraxians taught us diplomacy. The Korath taught us strength. Even the Threen taught us what not to become. We took the best parts of everyone and made them human." 6 months later, the new council voted unanimously. Humanity would become the defenders of galactic peace. Not conquerors, but protectors. Not rulers, but guardians. The United Human Systems Fleet would patrol the spaceways, respond to threats, and ensure that what happened to Earth 300 years ago never happened to anyone else. Admiral Vasquez stood at the dedication ceremony for the new flagship. It was the biggest dreadnought ever built, incorporating technology from 20 different species. On its hull, the name was written in letters visible from orbit. Indomitable III. A young ensign approached her nervously. "Admiral, permission to speak?" "Granted," Vasquez said. "I am scared," the ensign admitted. "We have so many enemies, so many threats. How do we keep fighting?" Vasquez smiled and put her hand on the young officer's shoulder. "We fight because someone has to. We fight because we remember what it felt like to be alone and afraid. We fight because humanity learned something important 300 years ago. The galaxy is dangerous and cold and full of those who would prey on the weak. But we are not weak. We are strong. and we will never stop protecting those who cannot protect themselves. She looked out at the stars, thinking of all the battles yet to come, all the threats still waiting in the darkness. But she also thought of the alliance they had built, the friendships forged in fire, the proof that even the most different species could work together. That, Vasquez said, is what it means when humanity's dreadnought enters the galaxy. We do not come as conquerors. We come as survivors who refuse to let anyone else suffer alone. We come as warriors who fight for others before ourselves. We come as humans. The young ensign stood straighter. Yes, Admiral, I understand. And somewhere in the depths of space, the Indomitable 3 powered up its engines and began its patrol. A dark guardian watching over a galaxy that had finally learned to stand together.